Have you ever wondered why some of the simplest foods mentioned in ancient scripture continue to capture the attention of people thousands of years later? In a world overflowing with supplements, health trends, and endless advice about what we should eat, it is fascinating that many still look back to the foods that sustained shepherds, farmers, travelers, and families living in biblical times. Perhaps the answer is deeper than nutrition alone. Perhaps these foods survived through the centuries because they carried lessons that reached beyond the body. They nourished communities during hardship, strengthened people during long journeys, and became symbols of faith, gratitude, patience, and hope. Today, we begin a remarkable journey through 7 biblical breads. Each bread tells a story, each story reveals a lesson, and each lesson offers a pathway toward restoration, not only for the body, but also for the mind and spirit. Before we begin, imagine an ancient morning long before the invention of electricity. The first light of dawn appears over distant hills. The air is cool and still. Inside a modest stone home, someone is already awake. Grain is being ground between heavy stones. Water is carried from a nearby source. A small fire begins to glow beneath a clay oven. The sounds are simple, yet they have echoed through generations. Every loaf of bread requires effort. Every meal requires patience. Nothing happens instantly. The baker understands that rushing the process only ruins the result. The grain must be prepared. The dough must be shaped. The heat must be right. Time itself becomes an ingredient. In many ways, that simple process mirrors life. The most meaningful transformations rarely happen overnight. They unfold gradually, shaped by patience, consistency, and care. The first bread on our journey is barley bread, a loaf often associated with humility. In biblical times, barley was considered one of the most accessible grains available. It was hardy, dependable, and capable of growing in conditions that challenged other crops. While wealthier households often preferred wheat, barley was frequently the grain of ordinary people. Farmers harvested it. Laborers ate it. Families depended upon it during difficult seasons. Because of this, barley became a symbol of simplicity. Yet throughout Scripture, God repeatedly chooses simple things to accomplish extraordinary purposes. One of the most fascinating examples appears in the story of Gideon. Before a decisive battle, a Midianite soldier described a strange dream. In the dream, a loaf of barley bread rolled into the camp and struck a tent with enough force to overturn it. The image sounded absurd. A loaf of bread defeating an enemy camp seemed impossible. Yet the dream carried a message. The barley loaf represented Gideon, a man who viewed himself as insignificant and unqualified. Despite his doubts, he would become the instrument through which victory arrived. The symbolism was powerful. What appears weak in the eyes of the world may possess unexpected strength. Centuries later, barley appears again in one of the most memorable moments recorded in the New Testament. A large crowd had gathered to hear Jesus teach. As the day progressed, concern began spreading among the disciples. Thousands of people needed food, and the available resources seemed hopelessly inadequate. Then a young boy stepped forward with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. Compared to the size of the crowd, the offering seemed insignificant. Yet Jesus accepted it, gave thanks, and used it to feed the multitude. Once again, barley became part of a story demonstrating that humble beginnings can produce extraordinary outcomes. The bread itself reflects this lesson. Barley behaves differently from modern wheat. It contains less gluten, which means the dough lacks the elasticity many bakers expect. It does not stretch dramatically. It does not rise into large airy loaves. Instead, it remains dense, sturdy, and substantial. Ancient bakers understood this well. They worked patiently with the dough rather than trying to force it into something it was not. The result was a loaf that reflected the grain itself, simple, honest, and dependable. Modern research has renewed interest in barley because of its nutritional qualities. One of its most notable characteristics is its high content of soluble fiber, particularly beta-glucan. This fiber helps slow digestion and supports a steadier release of energy throughout the day. Rather than producing dramatic spikes followed by crashes, foods rich in soluble fiber often contribute to a more balanced feeling of fullness and sustained energy. Ancient people did not understand the scientific mechanisms involved, but they certainly understood the practical results. Barley helped sustain workers through long days and provided reliable nourishment when strength was needed most. Yet the most valuable lesson of barley may have nothing to do with nutrition. It teaches humility. Modern culture often encourages people to chase recognition, status, and constant achievement. Success is frequently measured by visibility and attention. Humility offers a different perspective. Humble people do not need to prove their value through constant comparison. They understand that growth remains possible. They remain teachable. They appreciate small beginnings rather than despising them. Imagine preparing barley bread with your own hands. Flour is mixed with water. Salt is added. The dough forms slowly. It resists perfection. It reminds you that not everything in life can be controlled. Some things require patience rather than force. As you knead, your attention shifts away from distractions and toward the simple task before you. The process becomes calming. The rhythm becomes familiar. The experience itself teaches a lesson. Progress often comes through steady effort rather than dramatic breakthroughs. As the loaf bakes, its aroma gradually fills the room. It is not extravagant. It is not overwhelming. Instead, it carries a quiet sense of comfort. The fragrance speaks of nourishment, stability, and home. When the bread finally emerges from the oven, it stands as a reminder that strength often arrives in unexpected forms. The world may celebrate what is impressive and dramatic, but lasting foundations are frequently built through ordinary faithfulness. Barley bread leaves us with a simple truth. Restoration begins with humility. Before we can grow, we must be willing to learn. Before we can move forward, we must accept where we are. Before we can receive greater blessings, we must learn to value what has already been placed in our hands. Humility creates the foundation upon which every other lesson can stand. Yet humility alone is only the beginning of the journey. There are moments when restoration requires more than acceptance. Sometimes it requires release. Sometimes growth demands that we leave old habits, old fears, and old burdens behind. The next bread emerges from one of the most dramatic nights in biblical history, a night when an entire nation stepped into freedom carrying unfinished dough and uncertain hopes. It is a bread that teaches the power of cleansing, simplicity, and courageous new beginnings. The story of the second bread begins in the darkness of a night that changed history forever. For generations, the people of Israel had lived under the weight of slavery in Egypt. Fathers rose before sunrise to labor under harsh conditions. Mothers carried the responsibility of holding families together while uncertainty surrounded every aspect of life. Children were born into a system they did not choose, inheriting struggles that stretched back hundreds of years. Freedom was no longer a memory. For many, it had become little more than a distant dream. Yet throughout those years of hardship, a promise remained alive. The day would come when their bondage would end and a new chapter would begin. When that moment finally arrived, it came with urgency. There was no opportunity for careful planning, no chance to prepare every detail, no guarantee of comfort or certainty. The instruction was simple. Leave now, gather your families, collect what you can carry, and begin the journey. In homes across Egypt, people moved quickly through the night. Possessions were gathered. Children were awakened. Preparations that normally required patience suddenly demanded speed. Dough had already been mixed for bread, but there was no time to wait for it to rise. There was no opportunity for fermentation to work slowly through the mixture. The unfinished dough was wrapped in cloth and carried away. Later, it would be baked into flat cakes, unlike the loaves people were accustomed to eating. From that moment emerged one of the most meaningful foods in biblical tradition, unleavened bread. For thousands of years, this bread has served as a reminder of liberation. During Passover, families continue to eat unleavened bread as a way of remembering the journey from slavery to freedom. Yet beneath the historical memory lies a lesson that extends far beyond one nation or one event. The bread teaches a truth that applies to every person seeking renewal. Before something new can enter our lives, something old often needs to be released. Unlike most breads familiar to modern bakers, Unleavened bread contains no yeast and no ingredient designed to make the dough rise. Flour and water form the foundation. Sometimes a small amount of salt is added. The dough is mixed, rolled thin, and cooked quickly. It remains flat. There is no waiting period, no expansion, no hidden process transforming it into something larger. What you see is exactly what it is. That simplicity carries profound symbolism. Throughout Scripture, leaven often represents influence. A small amount affects the entire batch of dough. Sometimes this image is used positively to describe growth and transformation. At other times, it symbolizes attitudes and behaviors that spread quietly until they shape an entire life. During the first Passover, families were instructed to remove leaven from their homes. The physical act reflected a deeper reality. The old season was ending. The old identity was being left behind. The future required a fresh start. The same principle appears throughout life. Many people desire change while continuing to hold tightly to the very things preventing it. Someone longs for peace but refuses to release resentment. Someone wants better health but remains attached to habits that weaken the body. Someone dreams of a new beginning while carrying fears rooted in past disappointments. Genuine transformation often begins not with addition, but with subtraction. Before growth can occur, space must be created. Modern life encourages accumulation. People collect possessions, commitments, information, responsibilities, and distractions. Calendars become crowded. Minds become overloaded. Even moments of silence feel unusual. In such an environment, simplicity becomes surprisingly powerful. Unleavened bread reminds us that not everything valuable is complicated. Sometimes clarity emerges when unnecessary layers are removed. Imagine preparing this bread in your own kitchen. The ingredients are remarkably simple. Flour, water, salt, nothing more. The dough comes together quickly beneath your hands. There is no waiting for dramatic changes. No concern about perfect rising conditions. No elaborate process. The simplicity forces your attention toward what truly matters. It creates an opportunity to slow down and notice how much complexity often fills everyday life. As the dough is rolled thin, consider the emotional burdens many people carry without realizing it. Old regrets remain active long after events have passed. Anxiety about the future steals energy from the present. Unresolved conflicts occupy mental space that could be used for growth and creativity. Over time, these burdens become familiar. People adapt to carrying them and forget how heavy they are. Yet freedom often begins with awareness. Once we recognize what no longer serves us, we gain the ability to release it. The Israelites could not take everything with them when they left Egypt. Choices had to be made. Certain possessions remained behind because the journey required mobility. Progress demanded simplicity. The same principle applies today. Advancement often requires letting go. Some habits belong to previous chapters. Some fears no longer deserve influence. Some beliefs about ourselves are outdated and inaccurate. Carrying them into the future only makes the journey more difficult. There is another lesson hidden within the urgency of that first Passover. The people moved before everything felt secure. They stepped forward without knowing every detail of what awaited them. The path ahead contained uncertainty, challenges, and unfamiliar territory. Yet they moved anyway. Many people postpone meaningful change because they are waiting for complete certainty. They promise themselves they will begin when conditions become ideal. They will pursue a goal when confidence increases. They will take action when every question has been answered. Life rarely works that way. Growth often requires movement before certainty arrives. Courage develops through action rather than waiting. The Israelites did not leave Egypt carrying perfect plans. They left carrying unfinished dough and faith in the possibility of a better future. That decision changed everything. From a practical perspective, unleavened bread also reflects the value of simplicity in nourishment. Ancient diets relied heavily on ingredients close to their natural state. Meals were often built around basic foods prepared with care rather than processed products filled with unnecessary additions. While modern convenience has brought many advantages, it has also introduced countless forms of complexity. Returning occasionally to simple foods can serve as a reminder that nourishment does not need to be complicated to be effective. As the flatbread cooks over heat, small golden spots appear across its surface. The aroma rises gently. The finished bread lacks the dramatic appearance of a large risen loaf, yet its significance is far greater than appearance alone. Every piece tells a story of liberation. Every bite carries the memory of a people willing to leave the familiar in pursuit of freedom. Every crack in the bread reminds us that perfection is not required for progress. Unleavened bread leaves us with a powerful lesson. Renewal begins when we release what no longer belongs. Simplicity creates room for growth. Courage allows us to move forward even when the future remains uncertain. Humility taught us how restoration starts. Cleansing teaches us how restoration continues. Yet after old burdens have been removed, another question emerges. What kind of foundation can support a renewed life through difficult seasons? The answer comes from one of the smallest grains cultivated in the ancient world. Though easy to overlook, it possesses a remarkable ability to survive harsh conditions and continue growing when other crops fail. In the next stage of our journey, we will discover millet bread and the surprising power hidden within small, consistent acts of faithfulness. Sometimes the strongest foundations are built from the smallest beginnings. Part 3. After learning the lessons of humility through barley and freedom through unleavened bread, our journey continues toward a grain so small that many people would hardly notice it if it rested in the palm of their hand. Yet, throughout history, this tiny grain helped entire communities survive drought, famine, and harsh conditions that destroyed more delicate crops. While larger plants demanded ideal circumstances, millet continued growing under intense heat, limited rainfall, and poor soil. It did not rely on perfect conditions to fulfill its purpose. Instead, it adapted, endured, and produced nourishment when it was needed most. Hidden within this humble grain is one of the most important lessons of restoration. Great strength is often built through small and faithful actions repeated over time. One of the biggest misconceptions about personal growth is the belief that transformation must happen dramatically. People are naturally attracted to stories of sudden success. They admire overnight achievements, instant breakthroughs, and remarkable moments of change. Yet when we observe the strongest structures in nature, we discover a different pattern. Massive oak trees begin as tiny seeds. Rivers carve valleys through stone one drop at a time. Mountains themselves are shaped by countless small forces acting over long periods. Enduring strength rarely appears overnight. It develops gradually through patience and consistency. Millet reflects this truth beautifully. Ancient farmers valued it not because it looked impressive, but because it could be trusted. When weather conditions became difficult, millet often survived. When other crops failed, millet still produced grain. Families learned that resilience mattered more than appearance. They understood that true value often reveals itself during adversity rather than comfort. The lesson applies directly to modern life. Many people postpone positive change because they are waiting for ideal circumstances. They tell themselves they will begin exercising when they have more time. They will improve their diet after life becomes less stressful. They will pursue meaningful goals after responsibilities decrease. Yet perfect conditions rarely arrive. Life continues moving forward. Challenges appear unexpectedly. Responsibilities grow rather than disappear. Those who wait for ideal circumstances often remain stuck exactly where they started. Millet teaches another way. Progress begins with the present moment. Small actions matter. A healthy meal may seem insignificant, but repeated daily, it transforms health. A few minutes of reading may appear unimportant, yet over months it expands knowledge and perspective. A simple act of kindness may feel ordinary, but over time it strengthens relationships and builds trust. Restoration often begins with choices so small that they seem almost invisible. Their power lies in repetition. Ancient bakers often combined millet with other grains to create nourishing bread. Before baking, the flour was frequently soaked overnight in water. The process softened the grain and improved digestibility. Ancient people may not have understood the science involved, but they recognized the results through experience. They learned that patience improved the final product. Modern research now explains that soaking helps reduce compounds that can interfere with mineral absorption making nutrients more available to the body. What is remarkable is not only the nutritional benefit, but also the lesson hidden within the process. The grain must rest before it becomes bread. It cannot be rushed. Time accomplishes what force cannot. Modern culture often celebrates speed. Everything must happen immediately. Information arrives instantly. Messages travel across the world in seconds. Convenience shapes expectations. Yet some of the most valuable processes in life still require patience. Trust takes time. Wisdom takes time. Healing takes time. Character takes time. Imagine an ancient household preparing millet bread before sunrise. The soaked flour is uncovered. Its aroma has deepened. Olive oil and salt are added. Hands begin kneading the mixture into dough. There is no urgency. The process follows a rhythm learned through generations. Outside, the world slowly awakens. Inside, something meaningful is taking shape. The bread is eventually flattened and placed over heat. Gradually, it transforms into nourishment. The same rhythm exists in personal growth. Most meaningful changes happen quietly. They occur through daily decisions that nobody else notices. Choosing discipline instead of excuses. Choosing patience instead of frustration. Choosing gratitude instead of complaint. These decisions rarely attract attention, yet they shape the future more powerfully than dramatic moments. Millet also reminds us that difficult seasons do not automatically prevent growth. In fact, adversity often reveals strengths that comfort leaves hidden. A person may never discover their resilience until facing hardship. Compassion frequently deepens after suffering. Courage often appears only when fear must be confronted. Challenges reveal qualities that remain dormant during easier times. Consider a field of millet standing beneath a relentless sun. The conditions are harsh. The soil is dry, yet the grain continues growing. It does not waste energy wishing circumstances were different. It works with what it has. There is wisdom in that image. Life rarely unfolds exactly as planned. Unexpected obstacles appear. Disappointments occur. Plans change. Yet restoration remains possible when we focus on faithful action rather than perfect conditions. As you imagine breaking a piece of warm millet bread, consider the small habits shaping your own life. Every choice contributes to a foundation. Every action either strengthens or weakens the structure being built. Small acts performed consistently become powerful forces over time. The strongest lives are not usually built through extraordinary events. They are built through ordinary faithfulness. Millet leaves us with a simple but profound truth. Stability comes from consistency. Lasting strength grows through repeated effort. Restoration is not a single event. It is a process, one decision at a time, one day at a time, one faithful step at a time. Yet even the strongest foundation will eventually face pressure. Life brings responsibilities that require more than stability. They require endurance. They require the strength to continue carrying the load when the journey becomes difficult. That lesson awaits us in the next bread, a loaf made with lentils and shaped by the wisdom of perseverance. Every meaningful journey eventually reaches a point where enthusiasm alone is no longer enough. The excitement of beginning fades. Progress slows. Obstacles appear. Responsibilities increase. What once felt easy begins demanding effort. This reality touches every area of life. Health requires discipline long after motivation fades. Relationships require commitment after emotions fluctuate. Purpose requires persistence when results are slow. At these moments, success depends not on how powerfully we start, but on how faithfully we continue. The fourth bread in our journey teaches exactly that lesson. It is lentil bread, a bread of endurance. Throughout biblical history, lentils served as one of the most dependable foods available. They were affordable, easy to store, and rich in nourishment. Families kept them for difficult seasons because they provided lasting sustenance when resources became scarce. Travelers carried them on long journeys. Farmers relied on them as a dependable source of nutrition. While lentils lacked the prestige of luxury foods, they possessed something far more valuable. They helped people endure. One of the best-known biblical references to lentils appears in the story of Esau and Jacob. After returning exhausted from the field, Esau encountered Jacob preparing lentil stew. His hunger was so intense that he became willing to exchange something precious for immediate satisfaction. While the story contains many lessons, it also demonstrates the significance of lentils in daily life. They were associated with nourishment, strength, and survival. Modern life presents a different kind of exhaustion. Many people are not physically starving, yet they feel drained. Endless schedules, constant information, financial pressures, family responsibilities, and emotional burdens create a form of fatigue that affects body and mind alike. Quick solutions often promise relief. Extra caffeine, more distractions, temporary escapes. Yet these rarely provide lasting restoration. Lentils remind us that real strength comes from deeper nourishment. Preparing lentil bread begins long before baking. Dry lentils are soaked overnight. During those quiet hours, water gradually softens what was once hard. The transformation is slow and invisible. By morning, the lentils have changed completely. They are ready for the next stage of preparation. Life often works the same way. Many of our greatest transformations happen beneath the surface before anyone else can see them. Patience softens pride. Experience softens judgment. Time softens wounds. Growth is often invisible before it becomes visible. The lentils are then cooked until tender and blended into a thick mixture. Grain flour is added. Olive oil brings richness. Spices contribute depth and warmth. Together, the ingredients form a dough that feels heavier than ordinary bread dough. It requires more effort to knead, more patience, more strength. Yet that heaviness carries an important lesson. Many of the responsibilities that strengthen us also feel heavy. Raising children is rewarding, but demanding. Caring for loved ones requires sacrifice. Pursuing meaningful goals involves setbacks and challenges. Building character requires perseverance. The very things that enrich life often require the greatest effort. There is a temptation to believe that every burden is a sign something is wrong. Yet some burdens are opportunities disguised as challenges. Muscles grow stronger through resistance. Trees develop deeper roots because of strong winds. Character matures through responsibility. Pressure reveals strengths that comfort never requires us to develop. Imagine kneading a dense lentil dough in an ancient kitchen. The process cannot be rushed. The dough demands your attention. Every fold requires effort. Every movement contributes to the final result. In the same way, growth requires participation. We cannot outsource discipline. We cannot delegate perseverance. Certain lessons must be learned through experience. After kneading comes another essential stage: rest. The dough is covered and allowed to settle. Ancient bakers understood that constant effort does not always improve outcomes. Sometimes waiting is necessary. The same principle applies to life. Many people believe endurance means never stopping. In reality, sustainable endurance includes rest. Recovery is not weakness. It is preparation. The strongest individuals know when to work and when to pause. Eventually, the dough meets the fire. Heat transforms it. Texture changes. Flavor develops. Strength emerges. Life's difficulties often serve a similar purpose. Challenges refine character. They reveal patience, courage, wisdom, and resilience. The fire is uncomfortable, but it helps create something stronger. When the bread is finally finished, it offers a satisfying solidity. Every bite feels substantial, dependable, nourishing. It is not designed merely to satisfy hunger for a moment. It is designed to sustain a journey. That is precisely what endurance provides. It carries us through seasons when quick solutions fail. Lentil bread leaves us with a powerful truth. The burdens that seem heavy today may be strengthening you for tomorrow. Challenges are not always obstacles. Sometimes they are preparation. Every responsibility carried faithfully develops greater capacity. Every difficult season offers an opportunity for growth. Every act of perseverance strengthens the spirit. We now possess humility, freedom, stability, and endurance. Yet another lesson awaits. To discover it, we must travel further back into history and encounter one of humanity's oldest grains. There we will learn that restoration is not always about becoming something new. Sometimes it is about returning to what was original from the very beginning. As our journey continues, we leave behind the lessons of endurance and travel even farther into the past, towards some of the oldest cultivated grains known to humanity. Long before modern agriculture transformed fields into highly engineered systems of production, ancient communities depended upon grains that remained close to their natural origins. These grains fed families, sustained villages, and supported entire civilizations. Their value was not measured by how much they could produce in a single season, but by their reliability, character, and ability to nourish people generation after generation. Among these ancient grains were einkorn and spelt, varieties that have survived thousands of years with much of their original nature intact. Hidden within these grains is a lesson that speaks directly to one of the greatest struggles of modern life. It is the lesson of authenticity. Many people spend years trying to become someone they believe they should be. From an early age, society begins offering expectations about success, appearance, achievement, and identity. Comparisons become common. People measure themselves against neighbors, co-workers, public figures, and even strangers. Social pressure encourages conformity. Over time, it becomes easy to lose sight of what is genuine. Individuals begin shaping themselves around expectations rather than values. They chase approval rather than purpose. They pursue images rather than truth. Eventually, many discover that achieving external success does not always create inner peace. Something essential feels missing. Ancient wheat offers a different perspective. Unlike many modern grains that have been repeatedly altered through selective breeding, einkorn and spelt remain closer to their original form. They possess characteristics that connect them to thousands of years of agricultural history. Their appearance is different. Their flavor is distinct. Their structure behaves differently during baking. Rather than trying to become something else, these grains continue expressing the qualities that have always belonged to them. There is wisdom in that simplicity. Authenticity does not mean refusing growth. It means growing without abandoning what is true. A tree becomes larger throughout its life, yet it never attempts to become a river. A river grows wider and stronger, yet it never tries to become a mountain. Everything flourishes when it develops according to its nature. Human beings are no different. The healthiest lives are often built when people stop chasing every expectation around them and begin living in alignment with their deepest values. The preparation of ancient wheat bread beautifully illustrates this lesson. Bakers quickly discover that einkorn and spelt do not respond well to aggressive handling. The dough is more delicate than many modern bread doughs. Excessive force often damages its structure rather than improving it. Experienced bakers therefore rely on patience. Instead of vigorous kneading, they use gentle stretching and folding. The dough is lifted carefully and folded inward. Then it rests. After some time, the process is repeated. Gradually, the dough develops strength while preserving its unique qualities. This method contains an important lesson about personal growth. Many people